Hey, Razorback fans, and welcome to the one and only Hawg Talk podcast, live from the Migo Provisions Company studios. We are a part of the Believe and Buzz radio networks, where you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as the Buzz to 106.7. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. All live shows are presented by Arkansas Brewing Company in Ozark, Arkansas. This is Jacob Davis, and tonight I'm the lone host because, once again, Porter Hayes is still in South Carolina. I think he got lost down there while he was covering the women's basketball tournament down there in Greenville. Tonight, I've got Bart Reid with me here. He's a Pure Sweat Skills basketball training facility here, so we'll have him talk here in just a little bit. Our broadcast is brought to you by BetOnline. They remain your number one source for all your sports betting this season, everything from NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll always find the latest odds and team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. They feature live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code BLEAV to receive your reward. BetOnline, where the game starts. Bart, man, glad to have you on tonight.
Thanks,
kind of rocky way to end the season. I was hoping not to get you on after a win, but of course, Arkansas fell at home to Kentucky by 9 on Saturday. What was your assessment of the game, Bart, and we'll get into the SEC tournament with their game against Auburn on Thursday night. But first off, I mean, what's going on with the Hogs? Why are they faltering down the stretch?
You know, it's really surprising to me because I was obviously a big predictor that when Nick Smith came back that things would start clicking and rolling. And when you lose 3 games to close out the season, obviously, listen, the only reason that we're talking about the Hogs in the NCAA tournament is because you lose to net 2, net 3, and then net 19. Or listen, we're not putting sub 500 teams in the SEC in the NCAA tournament, or we have not in the past. So this is really uncharted waters for Coach Musselman and crew. The shot selection against Kentucky was terrible. And so Kentucky shot better. They were more aggressive. I think they were more hungry for the win. They wanted it more. You could tell from the tip. They were aggressive. Tashibwe was all over the place. Calipari was fired up. So they came in wanting a win. And Arkansas looked very complacent. When you shoot, Jacob, as bad as they shot, and then you go to the free throw line and shoot that bad, and they've shot that bad for 3 straight games, it's going to be hard to be quality basketball teams such as Kentucky, whether you're at home or on the road.
Yeah. And one thing that I've harped on all season long is their inability to shoot free throws consistently. I don't know if – I mean, you know they practice it. I mean, you know it's drilled in their head. Hey, we've got to make it. We got to make it. We got to make it. And it's like, you know, especially with the 1-and-1s. You miss the front end of a 1-and-1. It's basically you're missing 2. And so it's frustrating from a fan point of view and from a former basketball player's point of view to continue to see the inability to hit the free throws. I mean, Arkansas missed, I think, either 11 or 12 yesterday. And what was the spread of the game? 11 points.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So that going into
the same thing in Alabama. Listen, you miss 9 free throws, you lose by it's unbelievable. What's harder, Jay, for everybody to understand is this has been the hallmark of Coach Musselman's back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. Those guys knock down free throws. And I don't think it's out of the realm of expectations. You have five-star level athletes on the court, make free throws, okay? Now, I understand, and a lot of people out there, the time constraints that the coaches have. A lot of these free throw regiments and free throw reps are supposed to be players getting them on their own, but they should be getting them on their own, and they should be knocking them down at home. You cannot miss free throws at home, period.
No. And a lot of the things, one of the biggest issues was Devo Davis being ejected during that game. There was just, I want for fans at home that really didn't understand the difference between the technical foul and the flagrant ones and twos, why Shibwe wasn't thrown out earlier, especially for his elbows, and why Devo was thrown out at that point. What was the difference for the fans at home to gain a perspective of the rules here as to why Shibwe wasn't thrown out at the same time either?
Well, so let's say this. So without going down the week, the referees spend a tremendous amount of time looking at the video. So obviously, and Coach Musselman said after the game, they asked that question. He said, I'm not going to comment on refereeing. That's not what we do. So from Devo Davis's perspective, let me take up for the kid first and we'll get into the rules. He's drawn the most aggressive defensive matchups all season long. And I think he's laid it out there and done exactly what he was supposed to do. In the heat of the moment, do we need Devo Davis? Yes. The referees lost control of that basketball game. It was out of control from the tip. They had to bring it back in. I would have done everything I could have done, whatever the rule is for you get the back-to-back, you get the flagrant, you're out of the game. Listen, I would have figured a way to keep Devo Davis in the game. I know you can't bend the rules, but listen, Tshiebwe was not that far off from Devo as the video shows. So could they make it work? Probably. They looked at the video a long time, Jacob.
Oh yeah, it was funny because I was listening to it on the radio too, and you could hear the radio guy. It was either, I can't remember if it was Coach or whether it was Barrett. He said, "Oh, here we go again for another review. This is probably going to take another 30 minutes." And really, that game was so chippy. And really, basketball games shouldn't take longer than 2 hours. Yesterday's game lasted till 3:43, I believe. That's a long basketball game. Ridiculous. You can't get into a flow of things. But especially when it's a game as dire as you need it, and the free throws are so important. Scoring during dead periods when the time is not running on the clock. Arkansas went, let's see here, they were 6 of 9 shooting free throws, and then they somehow got worse in the second half. They went from 66% shooting free throws at the line, went 16 to 25 at the line in the second half. Let's look at some more. Obviously Arkansas has not been a good three-point shooting team at all. They got better because in the second half, just because it's desperation time.
Yep.
What is it going to take going into this SEC tournament? Do they need a win? What do they need to do to get off the 8 and 9 line right now?
Well, I think, let's say this. I think even if they win, I don't think that Jacob, and you might disagree, I don't think they need a win to get to the NCAA tournament. I said that. I think if they win a game, I don't think they move off the 8-9 line. I don't think that they have shown enough historical performance over time to warrant anything over than that. I don't see how you justify that. I think they need to win a game in the SEC tournament for their own confidence, and that's just the bottom line. I don't think you roll into the NCAA tournament losing your last 4 games and feel good about your spot. Now, these guys are young and resilient, but let me say the bad part about that. They hit the wall too, and what has happened is they have hit the wall. You go play Rick Barnes and Tennessee on the road. Those are grown men, and they're going to thrive and push you around and be physical. And so we look beat up and we look tired. Okay. And so I'm not a big fatigue guy. The minutes that have been there for Nick Smith, Devo Davis, and a lot of these guys, Anthony Black, it's added up, and it's even more than they had last year, Jacob. And we had 4 players in the top 10 in total minutes played in the SEC last year. And these guys, their minutes is up. So certainly a little bit of rest will do us great. I think they can bounce back. They have the talent to win. And I can't stress this enough. Trayvon Brazile would have been really nice these last 3 games.
Trevin Brazil would have been excellent to have all season, to be honest with you. We talked about it. I mean, obviously, me and you talk and converse at the pharmacy a little bit, but his ability to stretch out the court was something that through the first 11, 12 games of the season, Arkansas wasn't struggling with, even without Nick Smith. I mean, they were able to get shots off, able to get the floor spacing. That's the thing that Musselman has relied on for so long, was being able to. I think he calls it space or pace and space, and Brazil was able to stretch out, shoot from the three. I mean, he was just a dangerous guy, and I think we underestimated his loss at the beginning of the year before conference play, because all right, we're gonna be all right, because I mean, then you just started piling on loss after loss, and then you finally get Nick Smith back, and you think everything's going to be okay. And yes, the floor spacing did get better. It did get better during the state game. There's just shots that just aren't falling. And when you go to a 20 on layups, like there were some shots that Arkansas was missing yesterday from point blank range that usually fall. It was like weird clanks off the rim, like weird bounces, and you're just thinking, why basketball gods are you doing this to us? Like, why are you making it so hard on Arkansas?
Yeah, because to shoot, like, listen, the main difference between Kentucky 1 and Kentucky 2 is Mitchell really took it to Tshiebwe at Kentucky. And Tshiebwe came in and gave it right back and then some at Fayetteville yesterday. So that was the big difference. And like you're saying, the inside and interior play. So Trayvon Brazile just being able to give Mitchell a break. And maybe he's tired. Maybe he's got some other things. Maybe he's just hit the wall. But that's the big difference in this Arkansas Razorback team, besides all the other things. Mitchell's not playing well. And neither one of them are playing extremely well, but certainly they had been during the stretches of the season, certainly.
Yeah. And then during those losses with A&M and Mississippi State, when Smith was just trying to get back, I really thought Arkansas, they were really improving. They were just right there. I think those two, if you at least go 1-1 in those games, I think it really changes out the outcome of later in the season during that 3-game stretch. And really, I never saw Arkansas have to be desperate this year. I mean, nothing was a given, but being able to see them, they went 7-5 down the stretch. And I mean, it's okay, but I think there's matchup opportunities here in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament for Arkansas to even be a problem.
Yeah.
I think you put these teams on a neutral floor. Now, I don't know if Arkansas would have been able to beat Tennessee on a neutral floor, but you saw what they did against Alabama on the road against them. And you take that game onto a neutral floor, and it may be a different story. I think you take the Kentucky game, put that in on neutral court. You go 5-5 every single game. I think you can roll it out there, and Arkansas, wins 50% of the games there. Against the rest of the SEC, it just shows that Arkansas, in my opinion, I mean, they had that Musselman, that classic Musselman deal where they struggle early and they figure it out later. And this time it happened a little bit too late, but almost too late.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah. But there's no team in the NCAA tournament. Let's say, Jacob, to your point, the number 1 seeds and number 5, they are looking to see where Arkansas is played. There's nobody that wants to see Arkansas in their side of the bracket at a 9 or a 10 where Lenardi has. It's a nightmare because guards win games in the tournament, not big guys, guards. And we have plenty of guards to make a tournament run. I would not.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Nope.
But, Houston is the number 1 seed in that bracket. In the past few years, Houston struggles to shoot the basketball, and they still struggle to shoot the basketball. So it could be, if Arkansas winds up in that in that side of the bracket with Houston, I think it's a favorable matchup for Arkansas, especially if you get out of the 8-9 game with Illinois. And that's who Lenardi has Arkansas projected to play as a 9 seed versus number 8 seed Illinois. That could be a wild thing because Illinois is dangerous too. They can flat out shoot the rock when they're on, they are on. And I mean, I know it's all speculative right now, Bart, but you really want to see. I think Arkansas, when they have it going, they have it going when things are clicking.
Yep.
But I don't want to keep you too long, but I know we're going to talk a little bit about Auburn. Give me a couple of minutes about Auburn here. What do you think about Arkansas matching up with them in Nashville on Thursday?
Well, I think they're going to take it, even though I've said it's not a must win for their NCAA tournament. They're going to treat it like a must win. I know Nick Smith and I know some of the guys that are out there. They're reading what's going on in the media. They're seeing people write them off. I expect them, and Auburn's a very good matchup for us. They run they learn a little bit of zone, a lot of man to man. So they try to push everything. Bruce Pearl's kind of a down angle guy where he likes to make us start our offense and push everything to the corner. Coach Musselman, being an NBA guy, likes to run things from the wing in the corner. So I think it's a favorable matchup for us. I expect Arkansas to come out and play extremely well. The one thing I would give Razorback fans hope, Eric Musselman is the best one game coach in the country. He prepares better than anybody. His scouting reports are superb. He uses Second Spectrum, which is an advanced NBA analytics software to create a scouting plan. Arkansas will be prepared. This is where they're going to earn their money. I think we have a big night against Auburn, and I think we win big. I'm saying it's a 20-point blowout.
Woo, man! That gives me it gives me the chills just thinking about it. Yeah. Before you go, we did talk about before the show that we're going to talk about a little bit some recruiting. Over the past 10 years, maybe the last 12 years, we've seen Arkansas start to churn out consistently big-time prospects. We've seen the Nick Smiths. We've seen the Moses Moody's. I mean, you've helped develop the guys like Daryl Macon, Dusty Hanna's guy. You've had your hand in a bunch of guys. What has gone on in the past decade or so in the state of Arkansas to really elevate Arkansas basketball at the high school level?
Yeah, Jacob, it's a great question. So Arkansas has always had a rich, what I would call basketball tradition in terms of having really quality teams and quality players. The summertime basketball here with the people that are involved, and it's been on the Nike circuit, Adidas circuit, and various other things, has really elevated, I think, the play of a lot of our in-state talent. But take it, my example, 1997, I was one of 4 players that were Division I prospects that signed Division I. We had 16 last year. Like, it's crazy. Like, let's just think about that. So we had 4, none of which were Power 5s in 97. We have 16 what I would call high major. Nobody talks about Keon Williams because he's an Arkansas kid that went to Texas and he signed with Oklahoma State, and he's playing like that. That's an Arkansas kid. The talent is so great, and it continues. The 2023 class, Jacob always said this, is a little bit down, especially when you get Layden Blocker that goes to prep school. But what you get the 22 class, you get right back in the 24 class, which is extremely loaded up with Honor Boateng and a lot, I think, of what I call true pro prospects. But skill development, man, skill work is really the path to success. These guys are getting NBA level workouts at 15 and 16 years old. You can't downplay it. They get the stage. They get the Adidas circuit. Bill Ingram has done a great job of putting top teams on the 3 SSB. They get recruited, they get scholarships, and they produce.
Yeah. And Anor is a guy that Musselman in Arkansas is absolutely on. They love him. I've got 247 Sports pulled up. That's who I usually use. He's just right out of the 5-star rankings there. 6'5", 205 forward is what they have him listed as. 43rd overall in the nation, number 1 player in the state of Arkansas. Yep. What do as far as recruiting wise, what do you believe Arkansas where they're at in Boateng's recruiting?
I think they've got a huge leg up on Boateng. I think Honor is a guy that really is going to look at basketball and the academic side. This is a kid who, if you think about this, Jacob, when he walked in the gym the first time with me, he was outside the top 200. They knew who he was. It's the same as Nick Smith when Nick Smith came off the bench in 7th grade. Honor, when he's right before his 14, he was going into his 15 year. Nobody knew who he was. So that ranking is, you look at his arrow, it's going up. At the Wooten camp, I thought he was one of the top 10 players there. as a sophomore last year. That's the top 150. That's where they're ranking McDonald's All-Americans, been picking McDonald's All-Americans. He will go back this year. I think the talk of the class in that 2024, he absolutely dominated in the games. Average was one of the only players that averaged a double-double there, over 20 points and 12 rebounds. It's against the best players in the country. So I think it's going to continue to spike up. I think he's a top 10 type player. And I think in the end, he's leaning Arkansas. And I don't want to speak for Honor, but certainly he loves Arkansas. He loves what Coach Musselman is doing. Coach Musselman talks the NBA lingo. Guys like Honor Boateng, especially when you look at his body and his freak athleticism, these are NBA targets. He's kind of where Nick Smith was. Doesn't shoot the ball as well, but maybe a little bit better from the physicality standpoint and in the post. So certainly, I think Arkansas's got a leg up. I think he signs with Arkansas, and I think he'd have a great, probably not one and done career, but certainly probably two and done.
Yeah, and this comes from a guy, Bart Reid, who told me everything about Nick Smith when he was in 8th grade. Like this guy told me. I mean, you told me 5 or 6 years ago that Nick Smith's going to be the best player that ever came out of the state of Arkansas.
Yep.
That he's going to be one of the highest players to ever be drafted out of the state of Arkansas as a Razorback. Like you were spot on. So
yep.
Honestly, like I will praise you for everything, every bit of basketball information that you ever give me. Obviously, I was an old 1A boy down there at Old Union playing ball back in the day.
Right.
But being able to, that's small ball. But you go to the big. I mean, this is huge. Like you telling me all this, like the relationship we developed, and you telling me like, hey, watch out for this guy. He's gonna be stout. Now, and you told me about Boateng maybe 1 or 2 years ago, and now like here he comes. He's rising up. It's great. It's great to know that, and you being able to. I mean, you've seen the talent. You've seen the talent coming, and it's still like I see you posting on Facebook and Twitter all the time about guys that are in 2027, 2028 kids. Like this is just nuts. That's nuts.
Like Terrion Burgess is at Benton, and everybody's like, "Oh man, Terrion's great, but is he really an NBA prospect?" I'm like, he's a sophomore. He played this year as a sophomore. Like you have to quantify these things with how young these kids are. He just turned 15 years old. So another guy that I think the Hogs will certainly have a leg up on, that they're foaming at the mouth to get this young man, because he's got Kevin Garnett written all. Jacob, take it to the bank, buddy. He's got Kevin Garnett written all over him. He shoots the basketball better than KG did. Very similar body style, not as tall, but between him and Honor Boateng, buddy, you got 2 stars.
Man, that's great. Before we get you up here, I know we're a little bit over 20 minutes into the show, but tell everybody where they can find you, what you do, and we'll get you off here, Bart.
Yeah, so I'm a pure sweat skills trainer, and I travel all over, but the majority of my business, we have a private facility in Sheridan, Arkansas. It's hoophiacademy.com, and go check it out. We're do a full service, really customized skill development program, Jacob, and this is how a lot of these kids are getting better, man. We're diving into film. We're doing film edits, and we're designing it specifically to the players. So Hoophi Academy, it's a private facility, full service basketball training academy. So check it out, Bart Reid, the Bart Reid on Twitter, and you can see everything there online.
All right, Bart, man, you have a good evening. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to have you back on again sometime.
Yeah, let's do it again, man. I enjoyed it.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
Razorback fans, we're going to go take a break real quick. I'm going to just, read some or talk about some of our sponsors, especially Shelby Taylor Trucking over there in Sheridan, Arkansas. They are the go-to place for all your logging needs and equipment needs down there here in South Central Arkansas, Sheridan. You give them a call. Their number's here at the bottom scrolling. We're going to talk about McCoy Tiger Drug in Sheridan, Arkansas. They're your one place to go in the South Central Arkansas as well for all your prescription needs. And they also have tuxedos. They have shirts, any kind of gift, some rings. I know they got some guitar strings and stuff that you can only imagine. It's all over at McCoy Tiger Drugstore at 821 North Rock Street. Give them a call, 870-942-5121. Oh, so man, I know y'all really enjoyed Bart. Man, he's a great guy. Really great person to know. A developer of basketball talent. The guy knows his stuff, and it's just amazing. I mean, before I started doing this, or maybe about the same time I started doing this, he was telling me all about Nick Smith and how he was out of Sylvan Hills, just going to be a incredible player. And I kind of was like, come on, Bart, come on. Bart knows his stuff, guys. I'm gonna have him back on. He is talented. He's really taken off down here in Central Arkansas. If you need anybody as a basketball trainer, hit up Bart. That's who I'm gonna send my little girl to one day. Whenever she's at age, I may send her at 5 years old. Oh, so let's see here. Arkansas baseball, they swept Wright State this weekend pretty convincingly. I mean, if you ask me, Arkansas was really needing to redeem themselves as a top 10 team in the country. Last weekend, they played good ball. The pitching's gone on and off. Then we saw Brady Tiger get hurt in game one last weekend. And I mean, that hurt. We thought, oh no, not again. We already lost Jackson Wiggins. Oh, here goes Brady Tiger, our closer, the guy that could replicate what Kevin Kopps was. And then, oh no. I mean, you saw the elbow stiffness, the reaction of it. And honestly, I thought that we were about to lose Brady Tiger. And that was really going to hurt Arkansas, especially going into tournament play and throughout the season. Like it was going to suffer because Arkansas is already shaky on the mound. And a lot of that has to do with some of the rules changes that's going on, the way things have been, the repetitions, the way you trained throughout time, like throughout your time at Arkansas and in college ball, especially. It's just changed things, especially at the college level. The pitching clock, you've seen how some of the pitching clock has affected games all around the country, especially when you've got 2 outs down and you get the bases loaded, and then you have a batter's. I mean, you're down like in a 3-2 count or something like that, and you get called for the pitch clock for the out number 3 and ends the game. That stinks. But Arkansas ended up losing Brady Tiger for 5 to 6 weeks. He'll be back, probably early May, if everything goes out and goes well. So that's the best case scenario because I was really dreading Arkansas losing him. Anyways, I'm going to pull up some stats here. Man, I'm really glad Arkansas. I mean, they've had a lot of guys come up and rise to the occasion. I mean, you look at Jace Borfin. He had a huge day, racked up 3 hits, had a homer, a season high 3 RBIs, and one thing that I had somebody tell me last year was this Jace Borfin kid. Yeah, he spent 1 year at Oklahoma. Here he comes to Fayetteville. He's gonna just light the world on fire, and he started some of the season and then was replaced by Webb, and he was on and back and forth throughout the lineup, and you're just thinking, man, I thought this guy was going to be an impact. And then, boom, something happened this season, and Jace Borfin has just been phenomenal. But, yeah, the guy really led Arkansas, especially in this game. Arkansas ended up winning against Wright State. And Wright State's not a powerhouse. No, by no means. They're just not. They fell to 2-8 on the season. Arkansas swept them for their first sweep of the season, especially in non-conference play. Arkansas's, let's see here. Arkansas, another stat that Oliver Gregg, the SID, sent me earlier. He said Arkansas has not lost a home weekend series to a non-conference opponent since 2014. That's crazy to me. Razorback fans, if you have anything to talk about, if you want to say, have any comments or whatever, don't hesitate to leave a comment and we will read it aloud. We'll talk about it, especially in this last 30 minutes, because look, I'm doing this show by myself and I'm doing it without Porter, my main guy. So if y'all have any kind of comments or anything, just leave them there and we'll talk about anything. But yeah, so Hunter Holland, he had his third start of the season this afternoon. He pitched a solid 6 innings, one-run ball, and he earned the win. The left-hander struck out 5, limited Wright State's offense to its 1 run on 5 hits and a pair of walks. Holland, he boosted his ERA to 2.30, has a win-loss record of 2-0, and now has 14 strikeouts over a team high 15 2/3 innings. Obviously, he's been a solid starter for Arkansas. Man, you lose Jackson Wiggins, and I really thought Arkansas was going to struggle after that. You still got several guys, and I've seen people comment on Twitter and Facebook like, "Oh, I thought this is supposed to be the best pitching staff that Arkansas has ever had." Look, guys, you don't prepare. You're never prepared to have guys go out, especially when you have your big time ace closer in Brady Tiger. You lose him for 5 to 6 weeks, and then you lose Jackson Wiggins, your starting pitcher for the season, to Tommy John surgery. You don't expect those. You don't expect those things to happen. It's kind of like Arkansas and their basketball team. You're never prepared to lose any one player. Will Reid, he says, hopefully pitching doesn't take any more hits. Franks is an outlaw, and that's right. I mean, it is going to be tough. And this pitching, the thing is, like, Arkansas's got some live bats. Let's not beat around the bush a little bit, because this Arkansas offense is just talented. You've got Callie, you got Junzenberger, you've got so many talented swingers. You got Borvin. And these guys have size. They're big-time hitters. And I'm really excited to see what they can do. Caleb Colley, he got his first home run of the season in, I think, Friday's game. John Bolton, these guys, I mean, they're big power hitters. And then you have Brady Slavens, who can hit opposite field at left. And you got Jared Wagner. He has a team-leading 19 runs batted in this year. I mean, his RBI, 19th RBI of the season, got Arkansas to a 4-1 lead before Borfin ended up hitting his home run. Let's see here. What else do I have to add? After Hunter Holland left, Cody Adcock came in, got his first career save. And let's see here. He struck out allowed 1 run over his first, or those 2 2/3 innings of work. Obviously, it's hard to really dictate what Arkansas is able to do, especially during the non-conference play. But taking care of business, that's the one thing that Arkansas has done this year outside of the one loss to Eastern Illinois in Game 3 last Sunday. Arkansas has been able to kind of stay on top of these mid-major teams. That's the thing about baseball. Any given day, a team can come up and upset you, beat you. It doesn't matter who you are. Anybody is susceptible to losing a game in baseball, and that's just how it works. I mean, some days your bats are hot, some days your pitching's hot. Some days your bats can be cold and your pitching's great, and then the other team, I mean, they're just a little bit better. That's just how it works. Just the same way in March Madness, seeing all the upsets. Like, that's just how sports works. Baseball and basketball, I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, these matchups can dictate in one game, and that's just how baseball is. Arkansas's 18-game homestand at Baum-Walker Arena continues this week with a midweek contest against Army, and then Arkansas will host Louisiana Tech, which will be a very good barometer for where Arkansas is at, especially with Louisiana Tech. Arkansas is going to be wanting to come back after losing at Louisiana Tech last season in a 3-game series. First pitch against Army is at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, March 7th, and all games will be on the SEC Network Plus. That will be it for our baseball content. Like I said, until conference play is when we'll dive deeper into them. Arkansas football begins spring ball this week. What are we looking for? Arkansas fans, leave your comments here. Tell me what you think. I mean, this is a huge season for Sam Pittman going into his 4th year. He's replacing both coordinators. He has a host of new coaches. You've got Morgan Turner at tight ends. You got Travis Williams, defensive coordinator. You got Marcus Woodson at defensive back, co-defensive coordinator. You've got a new linebackers coach, and his name's slipping me. Then you got Deron Wilson at secondary. Man, it's going to be interesting. How are these guys going to come together as a coaching staff with Jimmy Smith, with Sam Pittman, with Cody Kennedy, the offensive line coach? Arkansas, I think they've retained enough guys and they brought in enough guys. And the one thing, like, I don't know how young this Arkansas defensive staff or this whole Arkansas staff in general is, but they've got to rival as one of the youngest coaching staffs in all of Power 5, especially in the SEC. Because these guys, there's a lot of them that are under 40 and that have been highly touted coaches, especially the Marcus Woodsons, who he continues to be on fire in recruiting. Let me see if I can pull something up real quick. They have just been on fire. And Marcus Woodson, Arkansas has been on the rise a little bit. And I think the more that they win, the more wins add up, more 8 and 9 win season, these 5-star prospects or these top 100 prospects in the country are going to begin looking at Arkansas in a different light than they ever have before. And yeah, you're going to have to win first, but you got to get these recruits in. And then once those recruits start flowing in, things are going to change. I read an article about Otis Kirk earlier of Arkansas potentially flipping an LSU commit. Xavier Atkins, a guy that Arkansas wasn't even on. I'd never even heard the guy's name. And I'll be honest, all of a sudden Arkansas is just on him. And like he's a top, a big time prospect. Arkansas's on multiple guys throughout the country that are looking at Arkansas now because of a Marcus Woodson. That is how big of an addition he is. A guy that was at Florida State comes over, gets promoted to co-defensive coordinator, has been an all-time just one of the top recruiters in the country, and that's what Arkansas needs to compete in. And Barry Odom, bless his heart, he's a tremendous X's and O's coach throughout his career, but I don't know if just time has gone on and he's just kind of lost his mojo as far as coaching defense, because he had stout defenses at Memphis and at Missouri. And then even in the 1 year in 2021, Arkansas had a tremendous defense, something better than they've really had in a long time. And I don't know what happened. A lot of it had to do with injuries, especially in the secondary, especially losing Buster Brown after 2021. Really hurt him. Losing Grant Morgan and Hayden Henry, it hurt him. Having Bumper hurt again. The guy that was the all-time tackle leader at the University of Arkansas stays hurt. But Arkansas, they had their backs against the wall, and they had one of the worst defenses all in Power 5, and probably one that was worse than a John Chavis or a Willie Robinson defense. And the only reason Willie Robinsons weren't worse than what they were is because Bobby Petrino told him one time, he said, hey, tell you what, I'm going to call the plays the rest of the way. and Bobby Petrino was one of those guys that he didn't give a crap. He wanted to win, and if he didn't think you were doing a good enough job, he's going to take it away from you. He was going to take whatever responsibility you had, and he was going to take it from you. And I see that in Sam Pittman, especially on the recruiting side. Because if you look at his very first staff at Arkansas, and we all thought, man, this is a really good staff. You bring in a Kendall Browse, you bring in a Barry Odom, you bring in a defensive line coach that's been around Kentucky and now is floating around the NFL. You bring in a solid linebackers coach in Ryan Rhodes, who was one of the best JUCO head coaches in all of college football, and then you move on to the second one, and you replace your defensive line coach with a guy named Jamal Ashley that came from Tulsa, and he wasn't getting it done recruiting. And that's one of the biggest things that Sam Pittman learned under Kirby Smart at Georgia was if you don't get your guys in there, you're not gonna compete in the SEC. And Arkansas, they overreached. Maybe in 2021 they were way ahead of what they were supposed to do, and that maybe gave Arkansas unnecessary or preseason expectations to 2022. Because I mean, even myself, I was drinking the Kool-Aid thinking, okay, Arkansas is bringing back a quarterback, bringing back some running backs that are great. You bring in a couple of wide receivers that could possibly replace Traylon Burks. You get Trey Knox back at tight end, and you have an offensive line that's been experienced, has been around each other for it seems like 100 years. And things just didn't gel. And that's one thing that Arkansas, I mean, hasn't done in the secondary well enough. Yeah, they've had great players throughout time, but you ended up having to take a Quincy McAdoo, who is a heck of a cornerback, but you had to take him away from the wide receiver room. You bring him over, and immediately provides an instant impact as a true freshman. Maybe it comes down to maybe the guys that were in the defensive back room, the coaches, maybe they weren't looking at their talent and properly evaluating them. Maybe they weren't developing them properly, and that's a lot of the issue here with Arkansas. You lose two leaders in Joe Fouché and Greg Brooks, and you turn around and you bring in Dwight McLaughlin. You lose Ladarius Bishop. Like, there was just a lot of things and a lot of issues that went on last year. And that's what Arkansas is having to do. And this is the best recruiting staff that Arkansas has ever had. If you look at it on paper right now, this is the best they've ever had. At every single position, Arkansas has got a recruiter. You look at Morgan Turner, his ability to send guys in the NFL draft at the tight end, I mean, it's second to none. I don't think you could have found a better tight end coach in the country that has a track record of developing talent, recruiting talent, and sending them off to the NFL like Morgan Turner has. Jimmy Smith, he's developed a solid running game, a guy that has been he has the associate head coach role now that Barry Odom's gone. Sam Pittman's going to lean on him a little bit more than he ever has before. But Jimmy Smith is churning out guys. You got Scott Fountain. Now, I know a lot of people get aggravated about some of the antics that the special teams play puts out. But Scott Fountain, terrific recruiter. You don't have him, you don't get Rocket Sanders. You don't have Jimmy Smith, you don't get a Jaden Hazelwood. Or a H.A. Green. There's so many guys. It's starting to click, right? It's starting to click. Then you got Kenny Guyton, who's on several great big-time wide receivers. And he's bringing in a quarter, and this is going to be one of the best wide receiver rooms as far as height and that I've ever seen. This is going to be one of the tallest wide receivers rooms in the country. I mean, you bring in 6'7" Tyrone Broden. You bring in 6'5" Andrew Armstrong from Texas A&M Commerce. You bring in Isaac Tesla out of Hillsdale College, who's 6'4", 200-something pounds. A guy that specializes in one-handed grabs. There is some excitement starting to chirp. And I think he did a really good job of being able to develop some of his guys, especially like a Bryce Stevens or there's several names that are Isaiah Satania. There's several names there that are freshmen and sophomores that are ready to get bumped up. Jaden Wilson's one of those guys. I think this is going to be one of Arkansas's deeper positions. I know I'm not going to say most talented because I think Arkansas has these guys have a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to have to prove themselves. And I think Arkansas is going to have to do that. But I think from a depth standpoint, I think Arkansas has got one of the best and tallest rooms in the country. I think they average 6'3.5". If that's what I looked at that about a couple of months ago when they ended up signing Tyrone Broden. So you look at the offensive line, and you've got an Elliott Harris, a Marion Harris, who's the son of Elliott Harris, former Razorback defensive lineman. You get Andrew Chambly, and then you have so many guys, and you're losing Ricky Stromberg, who is the anchor of your offense. But I think the offensive line is going to be bigger and better than they have. Tykees Crawford's there. You've got Devon Manuel, who's like 6'9", 330 pounds, 340 pounds. Like the offensive line that you remember seeing in Arkansas back in 2014 and 2015, being regarded as the biggest offensive line in all of football, it's coming back. And whether it's for the best or whether it's for the worst, I mean, I think Arkansas, they're bringing in what they want for the power run game. But I'm also seeing, as far as like Adam Dan Enos, I think your passing game is going to be able to amp up a little bit, especially with KJ Jefferson attacking the intermediate side of the field, because Arkansas didn't do that under Kendall. It was a lot of throw over the top of the defense, or you're going to throw 3 or 4 yard slants, or you're going to throw a lot of bubble screens. And that's what KJ Jefferson, I mean, yeah, he really excelled at that. But now you get these big targets all over the field. You've got a Luke Haas who's coming in as a true freshman from Oklahoma, who's regarded as one of the best tight end prospects in the country for the 2023 class. And I really think that Arkansas has a chance here to have something like a very explosive offense if things happen and if things go right. I think there's absolute optimism for Arkansas fans. I stay optimistic, but I'm also standoffish too, because you're going to have to take time in the passing game to really see things flourish. And I want to see what happens during spring. I want to be able to read the reports and see in the spring game how this offense may look. I'm not going to say will look, but may look, because you know they're going to keep it vanilla, and you're not going to hear as many reports about, oh man, look at how great this offense is. Then you think about on the defensive line, and that's really where, I mean, the portal, Arkansas is going to have to, I think, get 1 or 2 more defensive linemen, because Arkansas is going to want to go to more of a 4-2-5 base defense, and that's what Travis Williams is familiar with running at UCF under Gus Malzahn. So you lose Isaac Nichols, who is an Arkansas native. He goes and transfers to Purdue. But you bring in a guy like a John Morgan. I know we talked about this last week, but let me get this pulled up real quick. Arkansas's 2023 guys here and what they brought in. I know they brought in 2 defensive linemen. Another guy, his name's slipping right now. Trajan Jeffcoat, who was the defensive lineman at Missouri, who really has played well against Arkansas every single year, it seems like. But Arkansas, they need more defensive linemen, especially with the employment of what they've got. They're going to go away, thank God, away from that 3-man front, the inability to pass rush. And Arkansas did a really good job pass rushing out of that 3-man front. But I think once you add 4 men, you add a little bit more guys to the box, being able to clog the gaps, I think will pay dividends for Arkansas moving forward, because this past year it stunk having to watch a 3-man, 3-down lineman. Obviously you had Drew Sanders to shore up any kind of defensive deficiency, because he was one of the best rushing the passer out of linebackers, and he really upped his stock. I mean, he's still considered a first-round linebacker in the NFL draft this year. Arkansas had some talent there, and I just don't think it ever gelled at any point. But Arkansas, they're gonna have to attack. I think you get 1 or 2 more defensive linemen. You bring in linebacker wise, you bring in Antonio Greer from USF, and I know USF was a 1-win team last year under Jeff Scott, who ended up being fired because, I mean, obviously they weren't winning very many ball games there. And Chad Morris was not an assistant on the team, but he was an advisor to the offense. And you know, you obviously you put Chad Morris anywhere, and coaches are going to get fired. They got fired at USF. He got fired at Arkansas, and then he got Gus Malzahn fired at Auburn in 2020. So wherever he doesn't have a green thumb of record. And I don't have a green thumb either when it comes to planting flowers and vegetables either. Everything I touch ends up dying, and that's what seems like Chad Morris does at every single stop. But anyways, back on topic here. You get, let's see here, Al Walcott, safety out of Baylor, and you got LaRondo Johnson at cornerback. Those are two huge additions. And I don't think you can really underestimate that. And I think Arkansas may have to go and may get 2 or 3 more guys to kind of pad that depth, because that's one thing Arkansas hasn't had over the years is elite depth, and that's what they're getting out of Walcott and LaRondo Johnson. LaRondo Johnson was an Arkansas target under Chad Morris. Obviously, Morris had a good eye for talent. He just couldn't do anything with him on the field. But yeah, Johnson, Snacks Johnson is what his nickname is. 5'11", 181-pound defensive back. And then you got Walcott, who's a huge intimidating safety at 6'3", 220. I mean, I would hate to be finding him upfield. But you add Ladarius Bishop back to the fold, and then you have Dwight McLaughlin. You add those 2 guys in, and then you have Quincy McAdoo. He's coming back for his sophomore season. That's 5 really good rotational players. I don't know if they keep Hudson Clark in that rotation at safety, or they bring him back down. Maybe they put him at nickel or something. I mean, for just to kind of keep guys in the open field, maybe more of a hybrid safety type. I think that would fit Arkansas well. That puts like a rotation of 6 defensive backs consistently on the field at all times. Obviously lose Jalen Catalon and Miles Slusher, who were 2 talented safeties back there. But I think Arkansas is going to be all right as far as the defensive backs go. It's just going to take some time. And really, I think if Arkansas, if you can figure out a way to score 40-something points a game, defensively, if you can just be maybe 6 or 7 points better than what you were last year, it completely flips this season around. Let's go to the Razorback schedule, and I hate picking wounds because it hurts. But let's look back at the 2022 season, and then we're just gonna take a tentative look at the 2023 schedule. You started off the season with Cincinnati, South Carolina, and Missouri State with wins. You lose by 2 to A&M. At one point in the Alabama game, you were down by I think it was 2 points, 28-26 in the fourth quarter. It was a miracle, but it happened. Mississippi State, yeah, you had the backup quarterback. You didn't have KJ Jefferson in that game, lost 40-17. BYU, Auburn, and I think Liberty, you have a healthy defensive backfield and have a healthy KJ Jefferson is a different story. You have KJ Jefferson for the LSU game is a different story. Like there's three games there that were 1-possession ball games that I think Arkansas should have won. And then you have the Missouri game, that's 4. And then I think if you have the Mississippi State game back and you have KJ Jefferson, it's still probably going to be a track meet, but I think Arkansas, they lose that one close. I had that pegged as a loss all year long. But you switch those 4 games around and say, okay, those 4 1-possession games, you flip that around. It's obviously a 10-win season, 11-win season, and then you're looking at this thing a whole lot differently. You're seeing Arkansas continue in the upward trajectory that we all thought they would going into 2023. This year, you take out all the hard non-conference games. You don't have the dangerous Liberty team. You don't have a dangerous Cincinnati team. This year, you start off the season with Western Carolina and Little Rock. You have Kent State on September 9th. Then you have BYU on September 16th. That's 3 solid games to start the season. And I think you end up going maybe 3-0 in that. BYU is always going to be a tough matchup, but I think Arkansas can do it. Then you go on the road. And Arkansas doesn't have a home game from September 23rd until October 21st. Arkansas has to go on the road to LSU, and you know they're going to be loads better. A heck of a lot better than they've been previously. I mean, They were a 10-win team this year. I think they either match that or go past that because Brian Kelly's a heck of a coach, and I commend him for the success. And a lot of people had him pegged as a guy that's not going to be able to do anything because he had the luxuries of Notre Dame. The guy was able to win games at Notre Dame without the ability to recruit high level athletes there consistently. And he was able to win 10 to 12 games there almost annually. Now he is uncapped recruiting wise, and he can do whatever the heck he wants there, especially with the NIL and being able to capitalize on that. I think LSU bounces back this year and maybe contends for an SEC championship. Texas A&M, you get them in Jerry's world. You get Bobby Petrino, the Bobby Petrino factor. Jimbo Fisher may be on the hot seat. This could be his last ditch effort to be able to save his job and his $90 million contract. Then Arkansas has to travel to Ole Miss, to Alabama, and then you get Oklahoma or you get Mississippi State at home. Then you have to go right back to November 4th. You got to go at Florida. So it's like you start the season with a bunch of fruitcakes, and then you start the season 3-0. You maybe 3-1, 4-1. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat Ole Miss. Maybe 4-2, lose at Alabama 4-3. Maybe 5-3 if you beat Mississippi State in Fayetteville, and then you got to go to Florida. You have to go to Gainesville, and who knows what Florida is going to be next year at the first week of November. Are they going to be any more improved than they were this season? They're going to be without their starting quarterback and Anthony Richardson. What's Billy Napier going to do with Florida? Then you have Auburn at home, Florida International at home, and then Missouri at home. I think you have an opportunity here to win 9 games in the regular season, maybe at least 8. It's going to be tough, but I'm very hesitant to say the same thing that I said last year. But you have the best quarterback in the league coming back. You have the second best running back in the league coming back. You have an offensive line that could be one of the better in the league. You have a wide receiver group that has no experience really at the Power 5 level, but they have the ability. We see them be able to do it. On defense, will Travis Williams be able to implement his scheme? Will he be able to do what's necessary to improve this team and get them over the hump? I think 9 wins is possible, but I'm also thinking, man, you get to that LSU game, where is your head going to be at November 4th after that game? Like you could be 3-6 by the time you had to come back to Fayetteville on November 11th, or you could be 6-3, maybe 5-4. Like there's just a wide variety of ways this season could go. But I'm always optimistic, and I think Arkansas can do this thing. I think they have the ability. They have the leadership. Guys like Chris Paul. I didn't even talk about him in the linebacker room. Him and Jordan Crook and Andrew Greer, they could be like a 3-headed monster in the linebacker room. Like that's what's crazy about this team is, you have the promise. And Greer, he's a guy that didn't even play much last year, but 2021, he had a career year with 85 tackles. He can fly, create turnovers. I think he could really flourish. And that's one thing that Arkansas's linebacker room is transitioning to is more of those speedy linebackers that can get side to side and away from the run stuffer 6'3", 6'4", 230-pound linebackers, guys that can fly around. And I think Arkansas will be able to do that until they can continue to recruit better. And that's what's crazy to me. You think about some of the success that Arkansas had at the linebacker room, but yet you haven't been able to really land any high four-star linebackers. You've had the success of a Brooks Ellis. You've had the Grant Morgans, the Bumper Pools, the Drew Sanders, the Scooter Harrises. Like Arkansas has had a run of really great linebacker play, and I think it's going to continue, especially into this year and next year. And Pooh Paul, he has a great season this year. He could be going to the NFL draft too. He's that good. and you have Jordan Crook and Andrew Greer, and he's a guy that could be NFL bound after this year too. So it's really interesting. I'm ready to see what happens. I know we're not going to see day one of spring practice on Thursday at 3:45. I really don't think we're going to see much, but I think Arkansas. I think they're going to have a good first day. I think we're going to be able to hear some promising things, especially from Pittman. We're going to see the install of the offense under Enos, and we're going to see the install of this 4-2-5 defense under Travis Williams and Charles Woodson. Not Charles Woodson, Marcus Woodson. So, yeah, a lot of promise here, especially from the Arkansas side. But guys, I really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. It was another good episode. Obviously, I appreciate my friend Bart Reid coming on and talking a little bit about basketball and some of the things that he brought up, especially with Boateng and the future of the Arkansas high school basketball recruiting. I think it's going to be a phenomenal another half decade or so of basketball being played around this state. As always, I'm Jacob Davis. I'm hopefully I know we'll have Porter Hayes back next week. Safe travels for him. Guys, you'll have a great week. Go Hogs, and thanks for enjoying another episode of the Hog Talk podcast.